In June 1984, the court finally decided that Carol would keep the show's name and half of its earnings, while Joe would get 40% of the sales from reruns. When asked how she felt, she just smiled and said, "We were the best team until he forgot I was more than a partner." That quote made People magazine's cover, and it struck a chord across America. After that, Carol cut all business ties with Hamilton Productions. Joe tried to move forward with new shows, but none reached the same heights. He passed away from heart disease in 1991. Carol didn't attend the funeral, but she sent white flowers with a simple note. "I wish you peace, Joe. As for me, I'll keep going." Short, honest, and full of everything left unsaid. Years later, during an interview at the Paley Center for Media, she reflected quietly, "Joe taught me that in this business, love isn't enough. You must also believe that the truth will hurt you deeply." Just when everyone thought the drama was over, another storm came up. The third guy on her list wasn't a producer or co-star. It was a quiet summer night in July 1972 in Los Angeles. Carol was sleeping with her two daughters in her home off of Coldwater Canyon when the phone rang at 3 a.m. Her housekeeper rushed to wake her up because she thought it was a studio emergency. Carol picked up the phone half asleep and froze when she heard a deep, clear voice say, "Carol, it's Marlon Brando." It was a joke at first, but when he said he was watching a rerun of the Carol Burnett show on CBS, she knew it was really him. She thanked him politely, thinking the call would end, but it didn't. They talked for over 30 minutes with Brando talking about acting, Hollywood, and how TV needs more women like you. Brando's deep, husky voice got slower and softer, and it became clear that this wasn't a normal call anymore. It was crossing a line. Later, Carol said, "I knew I was talking to the real Marlon Brando and not one of his roles." He was smart and interesting, but something about his tone didn't sound right. When his words turned a little too personal, Carol drew the line firmly, but with class. "Mr. Brando, thank you for your nice words, but it's already late. Tomorrow morning, I have a call." She thought that was the end of it, but by morning, Hollywood was on fire. The Hollywood Reporter ran the title, "Marlon Brando calls Carol Burnett at 3 AQ Kimem." The LA Herald Examiner then said, "Brando finds inspiration in CBS's comedy queen." Gossip legends. Luella Parsons and Rona Barrett said the call lasted over an hour and that Brando sounded in love. CBS tried to calm things down by saying the call was completely personal. But Carol was furious and told her PR team to stop the rumors right away. The rumors kept going around like wildfire, and one anonymous source even said Brando called again days later, but Carol didn't pick up. Vicki Lawrence, Carol was embarrassed and angry, and she was afraid that people would change the story. She told her friend about it over lunch at Musso and Frank Grill. "He crossed the line. I can't believe someone like Marlon Brando thinks a late-night call is acceptable." She then completely shut him down, and from that night on, she made sure they never met again. At the 1974 AFI Awards, when Brando suddenly appeared on the red carpet, she turned away right away. Reporters called it a coincidence, but insiders knew it was on purpose. After that, her PR team put a note on her schedule every month that said, "Do not attend events with Brando present." A former CBS staffer later confirmed in Hollywood Inside out that Burnett quietly kept that rule for years. Brando never spoke publicly about it, though friends said he once joked, "Carol takes things too seriously." All they did was talk. What he said, though, made things worse because people saw it as proof of how cocky he was. Carol, it wasn't just about embarrassment. It was about respect. That night became a lifelong lesson in boundaries and trust. From then on, she got more private, more guarded. One crew member said after that, Carol never answered phone calls after midnight again, not even from CBS. But just when she thought she'd seen the worst of Hollywood behavior, another blow came. And this one wasn't whispered in private. It was a public humiliation in front of hundreds of stars. The man behind it, Cary Grant. Flashback to 1968. Hollywood was dripping in champagne, sequins, and ego. The Carol Burnett Show was dominating TV, winning Emmys left and right and turning Carol into America's favorite funny woman. That same year, Cary Grant, the silver-haired legend of the Golden Age, was being honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Beverly Hilton. Two icons, two generations. They were supposed to share smiles and congratulations, but what happened instead became one of Hollywood's coldest moments ever. The ballroom glittered with legends: Lucille Ball, Gregory Peck, Elizabeth Taylor, and Jack Lemmon. Carol wore a beautiful red dress designed by Bob Mackie and made her look radiant and sure of herself. After the ceremony, she walked up to Carey's table with a champagne glass in hand, ready to congratulate him. But there was a change in the air. Film critic Roger Ebert wrote that as Carol approached the table, the mood changed completely. A director sitting next to Grant tried to lighten the mood by asking, "Have you seen Carol's show? Everyone in the country loves it." Grant smirked, his voice smooth but dripping with sarcasm. "Oh, that show. The one where she acts too much and waves her arms around. I don't get why people like that." His words hit the room like a bomb. There were a few nervous laughs, and then there was quiet. Carol didn't flinch. She kept her cool, looked him straight in the eye, and said, "Maybe people like laughing with real people instead of with perfection." The table got cold, and Carey gave a stiff within 48 hours. The LA Times published a story called "Cary Grant and Carol Burnett: A Frosty Encounter at the Beverly Hilton." It was short but sharp, implying that Grant had made fun of Carol's honest style of comedy. Hollywood couldn't stop talking about it. Some defended Grant by saying he was joking, but fans, especially women who loved Carol's honest humor, didn't believe them. CBS stepped in and said, "Carol Burnett represents humor that is humane and intelligent. Laughter that comes from caring, not from being silly. Even though it was nice, everyone knew that was meant for that person." Carol didn't say a word publicly, but Grant made things worse. In an interview with Variety's Art Silverman, he doubled down, saying, "I prefer a more sophisticated humor." That one line turned an awkward situation into a full-on Hollywood fight. Some people in Hollywood just couldn't handle Carol Burnett's success. Cary Grant's comments about comedy losing its class were just the start. He never named names in public, but everyone knew who he was talking about. Tabloids went crazy with rumors that he even told Carol that she made comedy less classy. The rumors were never confirmed, but they made her fans angry. In November 1968, CBS reported that viewer letters doubled, most of them full of support for Carol. She didn't respond publicly or agree to interviews. She just kept working hard. That season, The Carol Burnett Show had its highest ratings ever, and she even asked her close friend and fellow comedy legend Lucille Ball to co-star in a special episode. Lucille later said, "Carol told me that the best response is when they turn on the TV and still see us there." Still, Carol never forgot that night. Years later, Paramount offered her a co-starring part with Cary Grant in a 1970 musical, but she politely turned it down because of scheduling issues. A friend said she told them behind closed doors, "I won't work with someone who looks down on women's laughter." Grant never said sorry or talked about what happened again. But Grant once said, "Cary is such a smart, strong woman," which is written in Graham McCann's biography of Grant, A Class Apart. "I didn't feel safe around her." Ironically, his disdain only fueled her determination. She went on to play ordinary people, housewives, maids, seamstresses, women with simple lives but big hearts. Within 3 years, she won 3 consecutive Emmys, and The Carol Burnett Show was named one of TV Guru's classic American television programs. From this experience, she learned one clear truth: no need to argue, let success speak for itself. Yet, as Carol's fame soared, her very success seemed to unsettle certain powerful men in the industry. One of them was Lorne Michaels. Carol Long accused him of dismissing women and deliberately excluding her from Saturday Night Live. In American television history, this remains one of the strangest mysteries. For nearly 50 years, Carol Burnett, the woman who paved the way for female-led comedy, was never invited to host SNL. Let's rewind to 1975 when SNL premiered live from Studio 8H at Rockefeller Plaza. At the time, The Carol Burnett Show was in its 8th season and still the nation's top-rated variety show. Carol, represented Lorne Michaels, was creating a new era of edgy, politically charged satire, and critics like Harriet Van Horn of the New York Post said that Burnett should host SNL to connect the two generations of comedians. The comments seemed harmless, but they were the start of a long, cold silence. Inside NBC, Carol's name was brought up for Season 2 in 1976, but Michaels reportedly turned it down, saying, "She doesn't fit the spirit of the show." 1. Editor of New York Back Bay Books in 2002 said that Michaels called her the face of old television, and we're doing something new. That comment started years of rumors. In 1981, journalist Tom Shales wrote in the Washington Post that Burnett had asked to host several times but never heard back. Fans were furious. Hundreds wrote to NB. I tell a new story about the golden age and the events that made it what it was every day. If you want to remember these times with me, click subscribe. It's free and means a lot. Thanks for being here. Let's start now. People in America loved Carol Burnett because she had a warm smile and great sense of fun. For many years, she's been known as the Queen of Ease and Laughter in Hollywood. But even heroes have times when they break. Carol shocked everyone when she talked to Rolling Stone about something no one saw coming. She is now in her 90s. She couldn't stand those guys. These weren't just any people. They were strong guys who used to be in her life, both on stage and off, as well as in her personal life. Some people tried to get her to leave shows like Saturday Night Live that she helped make famous by lying and betraying her. Then there was the younger guy who went too far and made fun of her in a mean sketch, which is why she had to go to court to protect her honor. Who were the people who hurt one of TV's most loved shows? Stories. And what man hurt her so badly that she could never forgive him? Harvey Korman was one of them. He used to be her comic partner and was also the cause of one of the biggest TV explosions of the 1970s. Back then, every laugh got a lot of views and even more money. The Carol Burnett Show was the most popular show on the air. At its center were Carol, who was the show's lifeblood, and Harvey, who made her jokes really funny. They worked magic together. But behind that curtain of laughing, a storm was building up in the background. There were cracks in the building by 1974. It was the best show ever. It won 4 Emmys, had huge numbers, and was signed to stay with CBS for another 3 years. It had built up, though. Later, designer Bob Mackie said that Harvey had become irritable, cold, and distant, and that he had even avoided Carol backstage. No one could ignore the fact that something was changing any longer. Some people in the know said that Harvey was starting to feel like Carol's growing fame was making him look less important. That anger grew until one Los Angeles afternoon at Studio 33. It all went wrong. Petula Clark, a guest singer who had just come in from London, was practicing with the band. By accident, Harvey's face was in shade during one of his scenes. His script fell to the floor and he yelled, "After all these years, can't anyone get it right?" The room went quiet. Director Dave Powers tried to calm Harvey down, but he wouldn't stop. He even hit Carol and said she wasn't paying attention, which made Powers angry. That hurt a lot. Carol, who was known for being calm and kind, got up, walked to the stage, and said, "Harvey, I've had enough. If you can't respect everyone here, you don't need to be here." The room was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop, and Bob Mackie said he could hear a microphone drop. Harvey stared for a moment, then turned and walked off, but no one followed. That day, a cameraman remembered seeing Carol sitting alone, looking at an empty chair, and quietly saying, "I didn't want it to end this way, but he went too far." It broke my heart. After several hours, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner headlined, "Harvey Korman leaves the Carol Burnett Show during rehearsal." CBS didn't say anything, but Hollywood did. There were rumors. After months of stress, some people said Carol had finally lost it. There was a lot of talk. Harvey wouldn't answer when Carol's close friend Vicki Lawrence tried to call him. Carol kept things businesslike. While she was shooting, she never said his name. On the outside, she looked calm, but the crew could tell she was very tired. Then, after a few days, CBS got a call. And it was Harvey. Harvey told his helper, "I need to talk to Carol." When she picked up the phone, he said, "I was wrong. I want to come back." Harvey walked into the production meeting the next morning. Again, everyone froze. He told the team he was sorry. Then he turned to Carol and said, "I forgot why I started." The crowd cheered when Carol smiled, walked up to him, and gave him a hug. After that event, those who were there said something would never be the same again. Harvey stayed on the show until 1977, leaving without a fuss. Carol was still polite and kind, but their relationship never got better. In an interview with Entertainment Tonight in 1983, she was asked about Harvey. She smiled and said, "Harvey made me laugh more than anyone and gave me the biggest headaches." That famous outburst, which is now known as the Studio 33 blow-up, was one of CBS's most memorable real-life moments. There were big fights between egos, even in comedy, and kindness can only go so far. Carol got stronger, smarter, and even more driven after that. One thing was clear, though. She would never forget the day when laughs turned into quiet. Carol Burnett changed after that famous fight. She stopped letting her feelings affect her work. She got smarter, tougher, and harder to stop. Peace didn't last long, though. Behind the bright lights and loud laughter of the Carol Burnett show, her personal life was coming apart in a quiet way. The marriage that made her famous in Hollywood was falling apart on the inside. Once upon a time, Carol Burnett and her husband Joe Hamilton were the ideal pair, with the right amount of humor and authority. Their story began in 1960, when Carol was still on The Gary Moore Show and becoming a big star. Joe was a producer who had been in the business for at least 10 years and had already made a name for himself on The Steve Allen Show and the Colgate Comedy Hour. During a CBS show in New York, they met. He looked at Carol in a way that made her feel like she was important, and they hit it off right away. 3 years later, they got married in California in front of close friends and co-workers. Once The Carol Burnett Show started airing in 1967, Joe was more than just her husband. He was also the show's director, mentor, and business partner. They couldn't be stopped for years. She brought joy. He made things precise. They were Hollywood royalty as a pair. Being successful, on the other hand, can break many ties. Bob Mackie, the costume artist, says that things started to change around 1975. Joe began to be in charge more. He wanted the final say on the guest lists and texts before Carol saw them. He pushed to get rid of sad scenes one day, saying the show should only be funny. Carol didn't agree right away. She fought back by saying that people need to laugh and feel sad at the same time. That's when the cracks became really clear. Joe became less present at home and more focused on new projects as time went on. Then there were rumors going around the CBS lot. In August 1979, TV Guide made it seem like a veteran director was seeing someone in secret in an editing suite in Los Angeles. People knew, but no names were used. Many times Joe was seen at the Showhouse restaurant near the studio, always with the same young CBS editor. Carol didn't talk to him right away, but her close friend Vicki Lawrence said she broke down one night after hearing rumors about how friendly Joe was with someone else on the crew. It broke her heart. It broke my heart even more after that. In 1982, Carol's lawyer found something shocking while going over papers. In the background, Joe had set up Hamilton Productions in Beverly Hills, filing projects that were related to the Carol Burnett Show under his own name. One of those projects, Mama's Family, was based on a picture of a brunette, but she wasn't given credit for it. That lie hurt like a punch in the gut. The book, Laughing Till It Hurts, says that Carol talked to him about it in person at CBS. That was the last word. She asked him, "Do you think it's fair to turn what we built together into something just yours?" He replied, "It's business, Carol, not emotion." Joan put in for a divorce in Los Angeles County Court on March 3, 1983. People thought Carol Burnett and Joe Hamilton had broken up, but the truth was messier than anyone thought. Their split turned into one of Hollywood's most complicated asset battles. Joe wanted full production rights and profits from the Carol Burnett Show and all related projects. Carol refused to give in. The trial went on for almost a year, with reporters from People, Variety, and USA Today camping outside the courthouse every day. Carol stayed calm and classy while Joe looked defeated and angry.